Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. After reparations, what comes next? This is the fifth and last installment of this series, and I'm glad that you have joined me here today. If you haven't already, please listen to series 1 through 4 in order to get an adjustment of what this series is talking about. So we left off in our new little towns and our segmented areas of land that we were given as part of our reparations package. And now we noticed after a number of years, and I'm going to place this 3 years from where we received our reparations, and please forgive the noise in the back. So after we established our cities and the operational departments to govern our cities, we realized that we were facing a problem amongst ourselves. Although we had set these mechanisms in place, we knew we still suffered from our social and economic maladjustments due to our former years in slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights, and economic depression. So I'm going to read something here out of the book called The Falsification of African Consciousness. This was written by Dr. Amos N. Wilson. You can buy it at any bookstore, preferably Black bookstore, or through Amazon, if you will. I would encourage you to do so. He states under the economics of maladjustment on page 45 of his book, why do we suffer from this problem then? Why is the Black personality created? He continues, I try to get across the fact that every maladjustment characteristic in the Black personality serves an economic function. And I would like to personally elaborate that even though we received our reparations in this futuristic tale, we were not free from the vestiges and tragedies that we suffer for over 466 years. And that no amount of money was a cure-all for what ailed us the most, our relationships or lack thereof between each other. So Dr. Wilson goes on to state, each maladjustive characteristic is not there by accident. And again, this is from our sojourn in white America. He goes on to say, it's not there simply because Europeans hate us. It's there because it maintains their economic dominance. It's ingrained in us, actually, is what I would like to add. We are almost hypnotized. Not even almost hypnotized, we are hypnotized. And so we do the things that we continue to do out of our control. And part of our reparations and moving to these cities really began to show how deeply affected each one of us is or were, and into varying degrees of how we need to deal with the problem and to what mechanisms we need to institute so that we can deal with this problem, so that our reparations wouldn't go to waste. So Dr. Wilson poignantly pointed out, he states, if I got money, I can help you, but if I miss or distrust you, I won't help you, and you may not make it. It's not the absence of money, it's the presence of mistrust. If I will not cooperate, if you cannot rely on me, then we cannot have an economic system, even though we may have money. In other words, a people must trust, be reliable, be dependable, have respect for each other if they are to develop a visible economic system. And in other words, it is our relationships between one another or lack thereof that we ultimately suffer from, and what is a deep wound that our time here under white domination and under white rule has done to us. Not only have we been stripped of our personhood, but we've been inculcated with stripping others who are like us, stripping their personhood from them. But luckily for us, we had wise people who immediately recognized what was taking place as they saw our material wealth begin to funnel back out into the mainstream of the American economic system. And they knew that two factors had to be addressed quickly: our spiritual balance and our historical reference. And there were people who were in our midst who were experts, or maybe not experts, but divinely ordained to help us in this regard. I'm not talking about religious preachers or professors. I'm talking about people like the good Dr. Amos Wilson, late Dr. Amos Wilson, who really had in our souls, if not, I think the man personally was anointed, in order to do for us what we could not do for ourselves. And so little groups began to spring up within our little cities and communities. And we begin to talk about what really happened to us and how we were feeling, thinking, and doing, how we were moving within the small town. We even expressed our fear that this was all going to collapse anyway. And so we might as well go ahead and move back to the white cities or white areas of the country. Thus, so as a group, we also began to realize that it was fear that was motivating us, and our past experience of being betrayed by one another due to our mistrust and our lack of humanity and bestowing that between each other, that was at the root of our ailment, and the reason why we never had a real social cohesiveness that led to an economic base that we could rely on that would take care of us. We had to deal with something that we did not want to really deal with, and that is the proper way to use selfishness, the proper way to close ranks. Now listen to me, it's not like that we didn't use it before, we just didn't use it properly. We use selfishness, all right. We're using it now in the present state. We use closed ranks, right? And usually it's between one another. Either you close rank within a certain number of people in your family and you withhold things that can be helpful to them, or you're selfish, which means some of us have betrayed our family. We made promises that we knew we weren't going to keep. Surrounding money, I'll give one, which is, I'll pay you back. I got you on that one. And we have no intention of doing so. None at all. Another thing of mistrust is those of us who set up businesses and wouldn't frequent them. We wouldn't go and buy from a patron that was black. And I must say, I think I'm guilty of that myself. I'm sure I am. Also to how we conducted our business as well. It was not so much as lack of trust, but lack of humanity. You know, our businesses had our kids running around. They were filthy, many of them. It wasn't a clean, established place. It wasn't somewhere where we knew that we were walking into something that someone really cared about and really wanted to give us quote unquote good service. And as patrons, we always expected to do less for the business owner and expect way more than what we would for those businesses that were frequent, that were either white or immigrant owned. And many times, even with the immigrant owned, if their business, when we walked in, if it was smelly, dirty, they treated us bad, we didn't care. We still walked in there with knowing that we had to be quote unquote professional. We had to act a certain way. Something that we rarely did with one another. So a plan was immediately outlined to get us thinking, moving, and feeling in a different way. There is a saying in recovery, especially recovery of 12-step programs, fake it till you make it. And that was something that we had to employ and that we did employ. We began to fake it until we made it. So consequently, as weird as it sounds, in this futuristic city, we actually had to pretend as if we were walking into a business that had establishment of white people in it. And having that mindset as we walked in to patronize a visit began to change how we actually moved within that visit. And over time, in the next 12 to 18 months, we realized that not only did we conduct ourselves in a more friendly, trusting, compassionate, humane manner, but we bettered it. And an economic system began to really develop between us that was exclusive to us, that its stronghold and base was for us and us first, and for a short period of time, us only, knowing that we had an eye on that at some point we would go globally. And that economic base grew by leaps and bounds, to the point that we trusted our products, our goods, our services first before going outside to anybody else. We were so amazing at it that we actually began to link up with one another in other towns and cities who also took the land grants, creating a grid, a stronghold of good economics, building upon our wealth. And this in turn began to stabilize our communities and to create boundaries and defenses from any foreign agent coming in to disrupt, tear down, and destroy what we had so meticulously and so gallantly fought to build. The end. Thank you for listening to this series. After reparations, what comes next? And here is my question for you. What is one way or one thing that we can do to begin to trust one another in business? Please share your answer in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. I do have other videos, and I hope that you allow yourself the opportunity to listen to them. Thank you, and have a good day.